Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. This is Bryan with Game Brigade, and today we're doing a deep dive on Hell the Last Saga and whether or not you should back this game. So, Hell the Lost Saga is a survival horror exploration game brought to you by Mythic Games. It is slated as a 1 to 4 player game, but it is designed as a 2 to 4 player game. The solo variant is more set on exploration rather than the co-op narrative scenarios. So this game is about halfway through on its campaign. It's 8 days to go as the time of this recording, nearing the $1 million mark with close to 10,000 backers. Probably expect this game to end out at maybe 1.5 million, or maybe even close to 2 million. I would not doubt that they could pull it off. So this game is a game that's based on hexes. It's a narrative-based game. The concept of this one is that you are a group of Vikings who are going to be going to a land considered a Valhalla to them. And you are not one of the first of the group who are going. You're actually part of the second or third wave. And when you arrive to your location, everything is not as how it should be. In fact, your camp, there's a little picture of it here. Maybe it's somewhere down here. Your camp has been destroyed, and the longboats that were driven by the original Vikings is just planted square in the center. And so your job as the group of heroes is to find out what happened to them, explore, survive, and unravel the mysteries. Now, there are several aspects of this game that are intriguing, and there are some things that I'm hesitant on. And it's your job to kind of realize where does this fit for me in terms of backing this game, and am I willing to take the chance on it? So the first thing we want to take a look at is the pledge level. They currently only have one pledge level, and it looks like that's probably how it's going to remain. It's this Berserker pledge, and it's priced at $129, not including the shipping. But you get the base game plus all stretch goals. The stretch goals in this game are basically they didn't add any Kickstarter exclusives. They're not adding any expansion packs or playable characters. It's just add-ons to the game to improve the quality. Now, looking at this campaign, reading everything through this, seeing the amount of content they're putting into this, I highly doubt that these stretch goals were never not included for this game. I think these are kind of fake stretch goals, something for people to feel like they're unlocking or something to be excited about. But I highly doubt. Oh, here's the thing I was talking about, by the way. This is your longboat. I highly doubt that these miniatures were never planned. And some of these I'm not quite so sure I'm excited with. They have 20 miniatures with alternative sculpts. Alternate sculpts, I'm not so sure how much I'm set on wanting those. I will say in some media forms that I play, like video games, for example, I love having alternate skins. I love being unique or being customizable in some way. But in this game, especially as someone who likes to paint my miniatures, it's just added work to make sure everything is painted, make sure it's aesthetically pleasing. I don't know. I'm a little less excited for more stuff to have to pack and to keep track of and make sure I'm pulling out the right miniature at the right time. But, it can add a little bit more of that aesthetically pleasing aspect, especially with these extra survivor miniatures. They're adding a few more survivors. That way you don't have to use the same miniature all the time for those survivors. I can see how those could be aesthetically pleasing to have some alternate variations with that. So this game is made up of scenarios, and they're going to call them songs. There's going to be 13 songs, and within each of those songs, there's going to be about 3 to 4 scenarios for you to complete. And overall, you're going to have about 80 hours of content for you to unlock to unravel the mystery. Now, according to these developers, this game has a wildly different narrative route it could take based on the decisions that you're making of each character. And as you progress through the story, there's many things that could happen or change that could change the overall outcome. And they basically claim that you could have multiple people with completely different outcomes in terms of their story. And that is really cool. I mean, I'm intrigued. You have my ear perked, whatever, when I hear that my decisions in this game are going to affect the story. The biggest question, though, is how well written is the story. They have 900 paragraphs of dialogue, but Mythic Games is a European game, and they've had some difficulty with some of their writing in past games and some of their campaign booklets, and that makes me a little nervous, especially when you're going so heavy on a narrative exploration game. The writing is really what's going to be setting this game up. I haven't really seen much of the true gameplay, like what does a true scenario gameplay look like? So I don't know if the gameplay is going to be able to keep up with the narrative. If the narrative is lacking and the gameplay is not good, this game is going to be dead on arrival. Let's talk about a game that, in my opinion, the narrative was poor, but the gameplay was so good that it kind of propped it up, and that was Gloomhaven. Some people might say Gloomhaven had great writing, had a great narrative. To me, I thought their writing in Gloomhaven was pretty poor. I did like the choose-your-own-adventure aspects of Gloomhaven, but at some point it didn't feel like what I was doing other than I'm taking the good path or the bad path. That was pretty much how it felt. And it didn't really matter, because when you got into the actual scenario, the story that you've read up to that really didn't feel like it was transferred very well into the gameplay. It didn't really feel like I was experiencing anything other than killing a bunch of monsters. But Gloomhaven's system was so good that I was able to push away its bad narrative because I just wanted to keep playing the game. The system was great. So Mythic Games either has to have a very solid system, or they're going to have a narrative that people are going to want to keep playing to keep the game going. I'm unsure if that narrative is going to be as well written as I'd hoped, based on their past experiences with some of their stuff. But, Mythic Games is also trying to take a step forward to be a top-tier contender in the board gaming realm. This game is being considered a legacy-style game, but they're also not wanting to label this as a legacy-style game. If you were to ask me, I would say it's a legacy game, but they themselves, Mythic, are basically saying we're not considering this legacy. So it will take on the aspects of a legacy game, that your decisions will alter the flow of the gameplay. Specific rules could occur at some points in the game that can alter the state of the game, alter the way the game is played, but they're not going to have any destructive mechanisms in this game. Just like in Gloomhaven, where you had to tear apart cards when you were using them or when you were finished with them, there's no destructiveness with this game, so the game should remain mostly intact and available for replayability, or if you want to sell it to someone later down the road, which is great, because personally, when I played Gloomhaven or any of those games that asked me to tear a card up, I said, F no, there's no way that I'm going to tear my cards up. So I'll figure out an alternate solution to know that I've referenced that card and I won't reference that card again, but there's no way I'm going to tear my card up. They also state that this game is going to have a big take on the survival aspect. So basically, you're going to be focusing on getting food, wood, and keeping your morale up of your specific party. Very much like Tainted Grail in terms of surviving. I want to make sure, I would like to know how in-depth the survival is. If you're spending almost all your time just trying to survive rather than explore, that can detract from the game. And there could be a game that's like made for a survival game. Like, I don't know, maybe you're lost on an island or something and you're trying to survive. I don't know. I don't want to dive deep into that right now. Let's keep focusing on this. But I don't mind the element of having something that you have to keep remembering to focus on, making sure your party's fed, making sure they have housing or wood to keep the night away. But if you're going to be spending so much dedicated play time to doing that, I could see it be a detractor. So I am curious about the mechanic. It's a mechanic I like. It's a mechanic that's intriguing, but it depends on how well it's implemented in this game. So the developers also state that no two scenarios will be the same, since there's going to be so many different scenarios between your 13 songs. They wanted to make sure that there was a wide variety, such as a race against the clock, tower defense, sabotage, escort, kill all monsters, something to that effect, so that you should have no repeating scenarios. I would say that when I played a game like Gloomhaven, it did become very much a kill all monsters type aspect, and you didn't really care what the story was, like I said, because you knew when you got into the objective that you were going to have to kill all the revealed monsters. So I do appreciate that they are going to take a look at the scenarios and say, okay, how can we make sure that you're not going to have too much repetitiveness or too much stale aspects of the game. So that's pretty nice. In terms of the value then, so now that we have an idea of what this game's like, what is it a good buy? So $129 is a bit pricey, but I don't think it's uncalled for when you're looking at the amount of content right here that you're getting. And again, I keep referencing Gloomhaven because Gloomhaven has a relatively similar price. And in Gloomhaven, you're not getting nearly as many miniatures as this. You're also doing the unlocks here with some hidden characters, so you're not going to quite know everything. They said they're going to have an advent calendar-like system where certain scenarios you'll take out just the miniatures you need for that specific scenario, so everything is still hidden and the mystery is still alive. I love that too. So I see, when I'm seeing all this content, I think the $129 price tag is justifiable to me. Again, it's how good of a game can this company, Mythic Games, create. So to give you guys some backstory, I have at least one Mythic Games Kickstarter that I received, and my biggest fear of going into this game is the rule book and how accessible this game is to teach and to play, because the game that I have, which is currently Joan of Arc, the game seems like it could be an amazing game, but the rule book one is pretty poorly written, so it's hard to teach the game to other people and to really know if you're playing it right. And there was a lot of mistakes with the game that they had to do a 1.5 fix to basically fix a lot of the problems in terms of the rules or some of the balancing. So I know Mythic Games, when you're pumping out as many Kickstarters as they're doing currently each year, I think they've got like 4 planned for this year already. It's a lot of games. It's a lot of rules that they're creating, and I don't know if this team has the play testers there to really make sure that the game is going to have the best rules possible. I think the concept is great. The story, everything about what they're telling me with the horror, the survival, the mystery, all of it seems really good. I'm a little nervous in terms of the company who makes the game. I don't doubt that you'll get the game. I think you'll get the game. It's just how well will the game be made? So if I were to say, should you back this? I think it's a safe bet to back it. I think that if you were to back this, you weren't going to lose your money on it. I think there's a lot of good things, and there's probably more good things than bad things with Hell the Lost Saga. But again, the choice is up to you, so you'll have to make that decision on your own. And I'm really kind of curious if this is a game that you will back. So I want you guys to let me know in the comments down below. If you do like this video and you want to see more content from me that kind of is similar to this, please hit the like button. That way I know that the content is good. If you are new to the channel and you want to be part of the Game Brigade community, make sure you subscribe. Anyways, guys, this is Bryan with Game Brigade. See you soon.